Ladies and gentlemen, this picture that you're looking at is Alaska, and they are going through a big thaw because temperatures are rising, and the melting permafrost that people are used to seeing, it's all gone, and you hardly see any snow, just some traces of snow on the ground. So they're letting you know, and this came out in the National Geographic, that climate change has finally caught up to this Alaska village. Newtok is the name of their village, and they know that their lives are changing rapidly there in Alaska. So this is October 22nd, 2019. They've boxed their clothes and piled into boats and said goodbye to neighbors for now. This month, a pioneering group of residents from the Alaska village of Newtok finally began settling into a brand new town. In the process, they become some of North America's earliest climate change transplants. I mean, if you look at that landscaping in the picture, you would never know this was Alaska. You would never know. So it says erosion has already wiped out nearly a mile of Newtok's land, with thawing permafrost rapidly accelerating the loss. So they are losing so much land, they got to um, get the residents all off of that village and move them somewhere else. Wow. I mean, if they're losing that much, pretty soon it's going to be completely gone. The Yupik village of about 380 people on the Ninglik River near the Bering Seas has spent more than 2 decades preparing to move. Thawing permafrost and erosion has increased flooding risk and caused the land around their homes to crumble and sink. The community landfill has washed away, fuel storage tanks leaning precariously, and some houses have already been torn down because they were in danger of collapsing. So, a place that was used to always seeing ice and snow is seeing nothing at all. And it's taking toll on their living environment. So, after years of planning and construction, families 2 weeks ago began arriving in the freshly minted village of Murtavik, about 10 miles southeast on Nelson Island. During breaks in the high winds and heavy rains that leashed the Yukon Delta last week, 18 families made the move and began unpacking belongings in their newly built energy efficient homes. We're moving literally in the calm between storms, said Andrew John, Newtok Village Tribal Administrator. Look at that. They said this place was always, cold, filled with permafrost and everything. And you look at that landscape, you wouldn't necessarily believe this is Alaska, but this is what's happening in Alaska. I was reading even um, over Antarctica. They said there's hot air over Antarctica, and the ocean is warm. So all of the ice sheets are melting at an accelerated rate. And remember, they had a heat wave there in the summer, and billions of tons of ice melted. It's never going to be the same. In my opinion, eventually all of that ice will definitely be gone. It's just a matter of time. I don't believe it's going to be very much or no ice left on this planet. It's going to all be gone. A few more families are expected to make the transition this week, but it will probably take until at least 2023 before enough homes are built for everyone. So they literally got to relocate this place because it's sinking. It's going away. It's falling apart. It will be challenging, but this is a very strong community, says Gavin Dixon, a development manager with the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, who is insisting Newtok residents with the move. Wow. Yeah, look at those natives walking around with rifles. We know what happens to black children that are walking around. They end up like Tamir Rice if they're walking around looking like that. A big thaw for thousands of years until early 20th century. The Yupik were seasonally Nordic hunters who moved between camps as they hunted seals, moose, and musk oxen and gathered berries and wild greens. While this community still maintains a subsistence lifestyle, residents were forced in 1949 to settle in Newtok after the Bureau of Indian Affairs chose the site for a school without first seeking residents' input. So they were literally thrown there. They didn't have a choice in the matter but to live in Newtok. Well, that's jacked up. But that sounds like America forcing you to do things against your will. Yeah, that's winning everybody over. Since then, the climate change has warmed the planet. It has started thawing the frozen ground that sits below the surface across 9 million square miles of the far north. This is causing roads, pipelines, and building foundations to buckle while also releasing more greenhouse gases, which drives global temperature increases even higher. Meanwhile, as sea ice dwindles and moves offshore, storm surges are rushing up rivers. Yeah, so I understand rising seas accelerate this erosion. Wow. All right. So they said floods frequently leave households isolated. One study in the early 2000s showed vast sections of the town could become part of the river as early as 2027. Yeah. Well, if you lost over a mile of this place, yeah, it's only a matter of time. And like I said, when you look at this land, you would never believe it's Alaska because you don't see anything. Everything is literally melted. Everything is melted. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, old Donald Trump said, this ain't real. This is not real. And man, when you look at these homes, look at how these people are living. But then again, if they were forced to live there, it's not shocking that these would be the conditions that they put these folks in. It's so American. It's not even funny. This is what they do. Wow. They literally have a schoolhouse. It's like a little schoolhouse. Yeah. So everybody on that little town, because of all the thawing and permafrost disappearing, they literally have to go because pretty soon everything is going to collapse. Those houses are, they said, they are sinking. So, but when you look at the land, it looks like a marsh, don't it? It does to me. It don't look very stable, because I know where I live, there are parts of New Jersey that's marshland. And, I certainly wouldn't believe anybody would want to build a house on that. But when you look at some of the earlier photos, it just looked like they built everything on marshland. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is marshland. I don't see how that could be stable. Don't be surprised if you see more people that have to relocate because of global warming and all of the climate change that's happening in the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, as I stated before, we are never going back to the way things were before. This is the norm. This is the norm. And they've been saying this for many years, that things on this earth are heating up. And this story explains it perfectly. You see a whole village of people that got to be moved because they are literally losing land and things on the land are sinking. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.